All right, let's jump right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're looking at a guy who wasn't just a phenomenal athlete, but a truly disruptive force. We're talking, of course, about Adam Gilchrist. Today, we're not just going to rattle off his run totals or replay his catches. We are going to explore how this one player, almost by accident, honestly, permanently altered the very DNA of cricket. We're going to pinpoint the exact moments the sport changed forever because of him.
So, here's a pretty fascinating question for you. For over a century, a wicketkeeper's job in cricket was neatly defined and, frankly, pretty simple. Catch the ball, execute precise stumpings, and politely survive with the bat way down the order. That was the whole gig. But in 1996, a young guy gets drafted into the Australian squad, merely as an injury replacement for the veteran Ian Healy. What if I told you that this single replacement player completely shattered a 110-year-old norm and rendered traditional wicket-keeping entirely obsolete? Here's our roadmap for the Explainer today. We'll start with the wicketkeeper revolution he sparked, break down his aggressive playing style, and track his historic milestones and dates. Then we'll look at some controversies and bold choices, see what modern scholars have to say, and finally, distill it all into 5 defining summary points. Okay, Section 1, the wicketkeeper revolution, from survival to warfare. It's actually kind of funny to think about now, but initially, Australia literally didn't know what to do with him. In 1997, they just shoved him in at number 7 because, well, that's where keepers batted. And he actually struggled to fit that traditional mold. It's a complete paradigm shift, right? You go from the old era, which was super defensive, completely focused on mere survival at the crease, to the Gilchrist model of absolute dominance. Then Captain Steve Waugh made this massive gamble in 1998, a decision that had monumental consequences. He promoted Gilchrist to open the batting in one-day internationals. He essentially took a player whose only historical job was to survive at the bottom and handed him the keys to dictate the pace of the entire game from ball 1. And that gamble, well, it paid off spectacularly during the 1998 final against South Africa at the SCG. Facing a terrifying bowling attack, we're talking legends like Alan Donald and Sean Pollock, Gilchrist didn't just survive, he went hunting. He was cracking cuts and pulls with this violent yet incredibly precise control. When he reached his maiden century with a screaming cut shot to third man, he proved right then and there that if you dominate the new ball, you control the whole match. The opening role went from polite survival straight to absolute warfare. He dismantled world-class fast bowling and just made it look effortless. Moving on to Section 2, the aggressive playing style. Unorthodox, fearless, and destructive. How exactly did he become so destructive? Well, his teammate Justin Langer noted something incredible. Gilchrist actually spent about 90% of his training sessions on wicket-keeping and only 10% on his batting. Crazy, right? The most feared batter of his generation barely practiced it compared to his glove work. His batting foundation was just incredibly natural, built early on by his father encouraging him to end practice sessions by playing fun, attacking shots. His specific methods were a bowler's absolute nightmare. Imagine being a fast bowler running in, he's got this exceptionally high backlift, and is just utterly fearless against extreme pace. You pitch it short to intimidate him, he punishes it with savage pull shots. Pitch it wide, he slashes it for a blinding cut. And if you're a world-class spinner trying to be subtle with your length, he just launched you straight down the ground. He literally left zero margin for error. He was also completely willing to experiment on the biggest stages imaginable. Take his famous innings in the 2007 World Cup final. He actually shoved a squash ball into the bottom of his left batting glove. Why? Well, this slightly crazy technique was designed to physically prevent his bottom hand from taking over the grip, which let him swing freely and generate maximum power. Think about the immense courage it takes to try something so experimental when a World Cup trophy is on the line. But, let's not forget his actual day job, the gloves. Standing over 6 feet tall, which is really tall for a keeper, Gilchrist used lightning-fast reflexes and this habit of clever, non-abusive chirping to totally get into the batter's head. And the stats are staggering. 417 catches and 55 stumpings in ODIs, plus 379 catches and 37 stumpings in tests. That's well over 900 international dismissals across his career. He set a massive, almost unreachable standard. Okay, Section 3, historic milestones and dates, a timeline of absolute dominance. So let's walk through this. Stepping in for Ian Healy, his ODI debut came in October 1996 against South Africa. By '99, he was making his Test debut against Pakistan. Proving how versatile he was, he seamlessly adapted to the shortest format with his T20 international debut in 2005. Knowing his body and wanting to leave on a high, he retired from international cricket in early 2008 while still totally in rhythm, before taking a final bow with his last IPL appearance in 2013.
Throughout that timeline, certain numbers just became legendary. Take 149, for instance. In that 2007 World Cup final, using that squash ball trick we talked about, he blasted 149 runs off just 104 deliveries against Sri Lanka. An astonishing display of power hitting. And get this, he holds the unique record of scoring half-centuries in 3 consecutive World Cup finals, 1999, 2003, and 2007, and Australia won every single one of them.
Here's another massive one, 100. He was the very first player in the 11-year history of the sport to hit 100 sixes in Test cricket. Over his Test career, he amassed 5,570 runs at an unbelievable strike rate of nearly 82. For a lower-order Test batter walking in at number 7 when the ball is old and bowlers are tired, that level of consistent aggression wasn't just rare, it was previously unthinkable. Because he had this unbelievable ability to literally flip a 5-day match in a single session. Look at 1999 against Pakistan. He walks in at a disastrous 126 for 5 and smashes an unbeaten 149 to pull off a miracle chase. In 2002 against South Africa, his unbeaten 204 was the fastest Test double century at the time, and in the '06 Ashes, he scored a blinding 57-ball century, missing the all-time speed record by a single delivery. He didn't just score runs, he utterly demoralized the opposition.
All right, Section 4. Controversies and bold choices. Integrity amidst the chaos. Because while his batting was incredibly violent, his off-field and on-field decisions were governed by a super strict personal moral code. Let's talk about his integrity, specifically the famous act of walking. The best example happened in the incredibly high-stakes 2003 World Cup semifinal against Sri Lanka. The umpire actually ruled him not out after an appeal, but Gilchrist knew he nicked it. Without hesitation, he boldly tucks his bat under his arm and just walks off the pitch. In a sport where winning is often everything and players take every advantage they can get, that moment cemented his legacy as a true gentleman of the game. As a leader, he had to navigate some seriously turbulent waters. He very neutrally and diplomatically handled the highly tense 2007-2008 home series against India, which was full of on-field friction. And this steady hand contrasted sharply with his aggressive tactical triumph earlier in 2004. Standing in for Ricky Ponting, Gilchrist captained Australia to a Test series win in India for the first time in 35 years, conquering what was famously dubbed the final frontier. He knew exactly when to play the diplomat and exactly when to be a ruthless tactician. Okay, Section 5. Modern scholars weigh in. The legacy of a pioneer. How do cricket analysts and his peers view his massive impact today? There's just an absolute consensus among cricket experts today. He made the traditional, purely defensive wicketkeeper completely obsolete. Like the quote says, he changed the face of cricket. Going forward, if you were going to bat at number 7, you had to be able to bat like Gilly, or you simply couldn't make the team. Teams figured out they were basically wasting a batting spot if their keeper was only there for glove work. And honestly, you could imagine the stress this caused for his peers. He essentially became the guy that made all wicketkeepers around the world go, oh no. Suddenly, flawless glove work just wasn't enough to keep your job. You now had to live up to this impossible standard of being a match-winning, swashbuckling batter too. Imagine being a traditional keeper in 2001 and realizing your entire job description just got rewritten by one guy hitting the ball out of the stadium. Which brings us nicely to Section 6, 5 defining summary points, the essence of Adam Gilchrist. If we had to distill his entire legacy down, it really comes down to these 5 pillars. 1, he was the ultimate pioneer, single-handedly creating the modern keeper-batter role. 2, his destructive aggression, marked by insane strike rates. 3, his supreme integrity, famously choosing to walk. 4, his brilliant tactical leadership. And 5, he was the ultimate big match player, winning 3 World Cups and totally dominating when the lights were brightest. And just to highlight that 4th point on his leadership a bit more, look at his elite captaincy stats. He had a nearly 67% win rate in tests and over 70% in ODIs. In T20s, he took the underdog Deccan Chargers, a franchise that finished dead last in the 2008 IPL, and masterminded a complete turnaround to see them crown IPL champions the very next year in 2009. Just a true testament to his ability to inspire everyone around him. So, I want to leave you with this final thought. When we look at modern cricket today, with all its hyper-aggressive strategies, massive strike rates, and wicketkeepers who regularly open the batting, we really have to ask, could today's game even exist without Adam Gilchrist laying the foundation? Maybe the modern game is still just chasing the standard he set decades ago. Thanks for tuning into this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.